You've got to do the intro. You realise that?
Yeah, I'm getting my intro pants on. Hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of the What Goes On podcast. This time, we are joined with the lovely Vicky Warwick here, who has played bass for quite a lot of people, really. I'm just going to dive down here for a notepad. Charli XCX, Robert DeLong, Guy Chambers. You played, you've been seen with CeeLo Green, Rod Stewart, Craig David.
David.
I know. How was that?
I mean, that was just a little bit of TV stuff. I'd love to say that we got into depth of I wish I could say me and Craig are best friends, but we're not.
But no.
It's still fun.
But thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us and sharing your story and stuff.
Thanks for having me.
So how is things in these COVID times?
How is things? It's tricky, isn't it? I was saying with a friend last night, like, I'm fine. Like, I feel fine as long as I don't think too far ahead. You know, it's when you have those dark conversations with people that it's like, oh, I don't know when touring's going to happen again. You know, like maybe spring 2021. And you're like, it's funny. Like, I'm in two minds. Like, I'm trying to make the most of the time, and you know, I think there's always a silver lining to be found. But it's obviously a hard, scary, weird, surreal time.
Yeah.
So have you had any conversations about? Sorry, Matt, trampling all over your toes already. Have you ever had any conversation with other kind of session people about, with other sessioners, but also with bands about maybe doing streams and that kind of stuff going forward if this ends up being a reality for the longer term?
Yeah, you'd certainly like to hope that that's what artists are going to do. I had one really good session during lockdown with a Chinese artist called Tan Weiwei, and I think originally it was meant to be like a live stream, but it ended up just being like us recording in the studio, and it became like a great piece of content for her, you know, like a little live series. So yeah, you'd like to think that artists are going to do more of that. I mean, I saw like Beverly Knight in the UK did an actual indoor gig the other day with you know, just a cut capacity. So I think this is it. You know, you hope that people are going to find ways in which to do it, or outdoor concerts or drive-throughs. But, you know, this is it. We've not done this before, so it's a big learning curve. And I think people got a little bit like overkill, the live stream thing as well for a minute. So it's tough. But yeah, it's certainly the time to, you know, be inventive and think. And yeah, like on the days where it's like sad and scary, you know, you just have to remember that people still want music, you know, as much as like live music feels like it's dead. Music is, you know, needed more than ever. So yeah,
we were talking to Nale from Vintage Trouble this time last week, probably, wasn't it? Yeah. And we were kind of kicking around the idea that people have kind of got out of the habit of paying or expecting to pay for music. So it's fine if they're going to have an experience. So go to a gig, I expect to pay money for that. But to actually listen to it, they're not expecting. And it's just whether people... I saw Biffy Clyro are selling tickets to a stream that they're doing. I don't know whether they've already done it. Maybe they've done it, but and other people are doing voluntary donations, which is a nice idea, I think, because I don't know, you kind of feel like the ball's in your court at that point. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I want to support you because I think you're a really great artist, rather than the price for admission is blah blah blah, even though there's no admission to anywhere other than the virtual studio, whatever it is. So it's have you got any thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think it's certainly a time where that's it. Normally you would pay for an experience, which of course, yeah, people should pay for. And I think that's always been the struggle in the arts, right? It's like getting paid for your art and for what you do. And I think it was like a meme that was circulating, not a meme, but like an internet thing that was circulating maybe a couple of years ago now. And it was, you know, when creatives are told that they need to get a real job. and the paragraph was just like, well, yeah, I could get a real job, but why don't you try living your life without music and museums and all these things, and like see how much fun life is going to be then. So I think it's always been an issue, and I think more than ever I hope that it teaches people to support musicians. And I think it's the same for like small businesses. I feel like at this time, hopefully people are realizing, gosh, all these small businesses are going to go under if we don't support them. So you know what, I'm not going to order my books from Amazon. I'm going to choose the little bookshop down the street. So yeah, hopefully it's making people just want to support, because like we've got to get to the other side of this and still have music and all these things, I think that's it. So yeah, it does feel like a bit of a harder exchange, but there's services like Patreon, and I think there's one of the is it Only Fans, I think it's called in the UK. Things like this where it's like, obviously you can't pay to go to a show at the moment, but maybe you can pay artists for like behind the scenes like videos or stems of their record or something. Like this is it, you just got to think of what else can we give a fan.
And I wonder whether it will toughen artists up a little bit. Like, don't be so backward in coming forward about, I've got to pay the rent, because everyone thinks, oh, well, you've got music on the internet, so you must be rich. And in actual fact, that's not the reality for most people.
I know, it's really difficult. And that's something I found difficult actually through quarantine, because it feels like this has been a time where people aren't doing much, so there's lots of like collaboration and like, oh, you should record on my projects. And it's like, I would love to, and I do have the time, but this is my job, I'm a professional, and like, have you got a budget, please? It's always horrible to talk about money. Brits especially, we're awful at it, but that's it. Like, I hope more than ever people are respectful that musicians need to be paid. And
it's two ways, isn't it? Because the people consuming need to accept that they need to pay for it, and the musicians need to be okay with the fact that they say, well, it's my job and I need to be paid for it. So there are two things that need to happen there. And I think, like you say, the artists don't really ever like, I mean, I don't know whether I'd call myself an artist, well, some kind of artist, but maybe derogatory, but I feel guilty about having to charge people for making amps, which is ridiculous, because it costs money to do it. But then why would you feel guilty about charging people for buying a record or something like that? It's the same thing. It's a mindset. It's not to do with the physical product. It's that you kind of feel like, well, I've done this and I think it's really great, and I just want someone to enjoy it. But there are realities.
I suppose that maybe the point is that we would do it regardless. So that's why some people think, oh, well, they would do that anyway, so like, why should I pay them? But and because we love our jobs, but that's it, you work hard. And I think the issue is when you get that like lazy musician stereotype, and it's like, God, no, like the people that are really successful are like, building their websites, doing their own press, like doing this, that, and the other. It's like you can't really be that lazy if you want to be a success. So
if you want to be successful at anything, I mean, it doesn't matter what it is, you're going to have to really graft.
Absolutely.
And it's not even when you just get to the point where you can try and get the job. I mean, you've got to learn how to do it first, and there's all that stuff. And people telling you to get a proper job and all that kind of thing, and you've got to battle all of that, which is always fun. That actually brings us to another point. So where did music kind of come into your life? How did you start to become the musical lady you are now?
I think I always loved music and dance, and when I was a kid, and I felt like I was always trying to like find an instrument, but I just couldn't. I hadn't found it. I hadn't found my instrument, and you've like friends at school that are learning like flute or clarinet or something, and I wasn't interested in that. But yeah, one of my best friends has a very musical family, and has like a barn conversion where she had like a band room set up. So yeah, just at some point she like put a band together, and it's that classic. The bass was like, what can you do? No, a very gracious singer who was also playing bass at the same time was like, well, I'll just sing and you can play the bass. So, yeah, that wonderful moment of being handed this instrument and I think that's the wonderful thing about the bass. You can sort of thump it a bit and get a sound out of it fairly quickly, and that was it. I was off, and I was 12 years old, and I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. So yeah, that was it. And then it was just like sleepovers at hers and playing Pink Floyd and Red Hot Chili Peppers, and yeah, just that those years when you're a teenager engrossed in music. And yeah, I just loved it. And then I think I was lucky that I had a bass teacher who was just very encouraging and said to my parents that I showed some promise, I guess. And then that was it. Yeah, I was applying for music universities, and yeah, I just decided, I don't know, I think I always wanted to be like a West End bass player. I think that was the job I could envision being, like maybe like a real job, okay, how could I do this? Because I didn't really know that much about the session world, and like, yeah, how that was a job as well. I think that was just what I translated, like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, I could play in theatres, like that would be really fun.
Did you know any pit musicians, or was it just a kind of romanticized idea of what they might do every night?
I think, like I said, I didn't realize the amount of other jobs in the music industry there would be. I think I thought maybe about being in a band, but I thought I'd rather, maybe do something that's a little bit like I have more control over. So yeah, I think I just knew I wanted to do session, and theatre was the only way I knew about it. I didn't realize about like musicians backing pop artists and things like that. I think I don't know. For whatever reason, it seemed like a feasible way, or maybe like coming from like a dance background, whatever. It was just like that was what my eyes were open to. But yeah, and then when I got to college, you start to realize how the industry works and how many other facets of things you can get into.
So you didn't ever think with our band that we're kind of doing in the barn conversion, we're going to be pop stars? That wasn't ever kind of on your mind, or?
Not with that band. I've certainly been in lots of bands where, it was certainly something that we thought would be a success. But yeah, at that age, I mean, it was a bit of fun, and I was probably the one like, really thinking about my future as a musician. But yeah, and then bands in college. Again, I think there's just always that thought of like, oh, it's just so impossible to make it as a band, so like being like a session musician seemed like a more feasible thing to do. But yeah, after I was at college, I was in a band that was certainly like my focus, like actually, no, I do want to like make it in this band and take over the world. But
and did you have any other friends in bands who were getting some traction, maybe got a little deal or anything like that to sort of spur you on during that time?
It was funny actually, like my time at college, like it wasn't that bandy. I think a lot of people were there to like learn to be like session players. So I'm trying to think if there was, someone's got a doggy.
Yeah, she's just been spayed and she hasn't been walked today, and she's mental. So,
yeah.
Random barking, but yeah, no, she'll be all right. Most probably jump up in a bit.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I feel like, I don't know, do they have friends with getting record labels? Maybe not. Yeah, it was very much like a session that was what the college seemed to be like training us to do.
Which school was it you went to?
Tech music schools, like bass. Well, it's got many different names. Like drum tech is how it started.
Right. So it's like, because I went to Guitar Institute when it was because it was literally
in Kilburn.
So it was started in Acton, just round the corner from the workshop where obviously we first met, and then it's now in Kilburn. I think it's split off.
They kind of split into two, yeah. So one place stayed in Acton, one went to Kilburn. But now the one that was in Acton is owned by BIM, the British
and that's in Fulham,
Institute, which is in Fulham now.
Yeah, it's all very complicated.
It's all very complicated, but yeah, it was a cool music school, but yes, less bandy. I feel like maybe somewhere like Lipper or something might be more like a bandy place to go to college. But yeah, certainly the focus was on like, yeah, doing music in a kind of session way.
Sessiony fashion.
Yeah, at least that's what I kind of took from it and how it was when I was there. But
that's interesting because sorry, I'm just trampling all over you again.
He does this all the time.
I do. I'm absolutely awful. It's a completely different mindset because I can't. Maybe because I'm just really lazy, and my musical aspirations were never ever to be a session player. No, maybe it's either that I'm lazy or I have a low self-esteem. I never thought that I would be good enough for anyone to want me to come and play on their music. So that was it was always like, if I could just write the perfect song, then I could get a deal and whatever. Yeah. And actually, enough about you. Let's talk about me for a while. Actually, just as I'm thinking through this, I didn't go to a music college. I went to a sound engineering college because I was like, well, I really want to be involved in music, but I'm not good enough to play an instrument. So that's what I'm going to do. So to some degree, I suppose I was going down the same route as you. Like, there's got to be some kind of employment at the end of this because I'm not talented enough or whatever to be a rock star, pop star, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? Certainly, like, making it as a band, making it as an artist, like, it does seem so difficult. So I guess we all think, like, well, we want to do music, we want to be involved. Like, what's a feasible way of doing this? What can I tell mum and dad that, like, the plan is this, you know? Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, were your parents always, like, really supportive through this whole thing?
Yeah, they were. No, they're watching. Yeah. No, they were super supportive when I was young. I think, you know, in times like this, they probably find it harder to be like, as I get older, maybe to be like, well, you can't tour forever. Like, when are we going to get some grandkids? You know, all that kind of stuff. Right. But no, but I'm joking. No, they've always been. They've always been very supportive, and like I probably couldn't have done that without their support. So I'm very, very thankful of that. I think, yeah, it's a hard thing to do if you don't have support from people. Yeah, I mean, my dad used to drive me everywhere, carry my amp with me. You know,
God, you
like,
lucky bastard.
Yeah, no, super supportive. And I think again, like for girls as well. Like when I was in college, I did a dissertation about like why there's a lack of females in the industry, and it's like, probably a lot of parents like wouldn't want to like put their teenage girl in like a room of smelly boys for let them like go off and do gigs with them. Do you know what I mean? So like I've
always found, because I've been in like quite a few originals bands with girls in it, not being singers. Like we had a cellist or a drummer or this, that, and the other, and we were always really protective. You know, it was kind of. You know, but also it wasn't a kind of a second thought. It was just like they were really good at what they did. So why don't we have them? They look better than most of the blokes we can get anyway. So
totally. I think that's the reality of it. Most of the time, it's not a thing, you know. But I guess if you're just a super protective parent or whatever, you know, you think, like you're going to go to some like bar to play, like you're underage, or like who you're going to be with, like, you know,
it's understandable.
Legitimate concern, for some parents, but for whatever reason, for boys, I think it's just like, oh, they'll be fine, you know. So I think that maybe that's changing, but that was something that I just came across in my research at the time. So it made me appreciate how much my parents just supported me and trusted me, and
So after college finished and everything, I mean, what was the journey from sort of there to actually being able to make your money playing music? Was it quite quick, or did you have to kind of sort of, you know, get your like bar job or whatever just to sort of see you through?
I think it's always like, I think most people's careers are never like a steady slope, isn't it? It's you know, it's a bit of this, and that's like certainly how it was for me when I actually left college in my second year because I got a job. So this company called Xenomania, who were like a big pop production house, they were writing, you know, a lot of the pop songs that were on the radio at the time. They were looking for musicians to form a kind of like in-house band because they were developing their own artists and they wanted a band to like play behind their artists for showcases and gigs. And yeah, that was fantastic. They came to my college looking for musicians. So when I was 19, maybe I was 20, I got a job there. So that was it. I was in my second year of uni and this opportunity came up. And, you know, luckily, obviously it was an opportunity I needed to pursue. So I was able to like pause my degree, defer it, and I went and did this job, which was, you know, like a 5 to 6 days a week kind of job, you know, like 10 till 6 every day job. You know, it was really like the most insane thing. And again, you know, talk about pleasing your parents, you know, you're like, I've got a job, I've got a salary, you know, like it was, I probably like gave them a full sense of security with that, because that's been probably the most secure job I've ever had in the music industry, you know. But yeah, so that was great. But then that came to a bit of an end. The company, you know, things started to change within the company, so they let me go, and I went back to college and finished my third year. And then I was in a band. I was doing the band thing. So yeah, so during that, like, because you know we were doing the band thing, we weren't making a lot of money, so I was working in bars, but also doing some session work. So yeah, it's always been like, you know, you do a gig and things are good and you have a really good year, and then you have some quiet months, and that's just that's just always so the way it is. But
how did you find, kind of, was it kind of sorry, my brain just went, I had complete brain fart, but so getting from sort of gig to gig, how were you finding them? I mean, what was going, I mean, who were you, was it just sort of bumping into people or referred from, you know, people you'd worked with before, or
I think it's always like who you know, right? Like, you know, and there's certainly like some places you can go to look for jobs online, or, you know, especially maybe now, things like Instagram are really good for people like discovering you. But yeah, at the time it was who I know. I was really lucky that my college kept me really connected. My bass teacher, Andrew McKinney, who was amazing.
Excellent, Andrew McKinney.
Oh, the silver fox.
The silver fox. He, you know, not only was just such an excellent teacher, he, you know, connected me with a fixer called Bob Knight, and you know, Bob, and all the Ealing squad.
It's crazy how much goes on in Ealing. There's this little bubble of like West London talent. That's what it is.
West London talent. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I lived in Ealing for a really long time, and yeah, that's it. He introduced me to Bob's, and then Bob got me gigs. You know, it's always those introductions and those personal connections. And then from that job at Xenomania, I made some connections and met some people. And it's just that, it's you meet somebody. Again, through college, I was introduced to Guy or somebody. Yeah, he was looking for students and came to the college to look for musicians. And then that's how I started working with him. And that's how I started working with my band. My band was co-managed by him. So yeah, it's just that. It's like who you meet, and then you do this other gig, and then you do this other gig. And yeah, it's just, I always think that's just why it's really important to like remember who you're working with and think
be nice and be easy to get on with.
Be easy to get on with, because that's it. Like this gig is going to lead to your next gig. It's going to lead to your next gig. You know, and maybe that's going to change with COVID. Maybe that's going to change now. Like, obviously we're not able, you know, it's also things like getting out to like jam nights or going to people's gigs and meeting people there. Like, you know, networking is probably largely going to be done online now. So I think that's why places like Instagram are really important. So yeah,
it's so relational, isn't it? Like the music just is relational.
Yeah.
It's when you're in a band, it's about relationship, for better or worse, with the people that you're playing with. Sometimes worse makes better music, sometimes it really doesn't. And it's about communicating heartfelt emotion to the person that's listening to it as well. And so when you put something in between you, that's why live shows are so great, and why streaming is such a struggle, because it's not, there isn't that kind of electric connection between the band and the audience, that immediate reaction. There's always like there could be thousands of miles in between you. So that's a big thing to conquer, I think, in the next few months, if this is how it's going to be.
Yeah, it's, that's it. There's silver linings. There's certainly good things about it, but that's it. The reality is things are better in real life. Like hanging out with people, like going to a gig, feeling like the bass in your chest. These are all things that you can't replace. Yeah, it was funny actually. I'd seen there's a jam night here called the Juice Joint, and I'd seen that they were doing some like outdoor things recently. But watching their videos reminded me of going to their live thing they do, and it really made me really miss being in those situations for the first time, because it's just such a sensory overload when you go there. It's like very bassy, like R&B, like 5-string, 6-string, like very bassy music. So you feel it, it rumbles around the room. You feel it in your chest, and people are smoking in there. So there's just the air is thick, and there's so many people. You're brushing up against people, and just thinking about those scenarios, and that jam night, I was just like, gosh, like when are we going to be able to do that again?
Yeah.
Have you ever played in any of the house bands for those kind of jam night things?
I haven't. I've never done that so much. One of the jams I used to go to a lot in London was the W3 jam, which was actually, started in Acton and then was in Ravenscourt Park. Am I remembering that right? Yeah, that part of London. But so that was one that my friends ran, and I think now, well, maybe not now, but they do nights at Ronnie's as well. So that was certainly one that I would go to a lot and get up a lot. But I've never done a house band for that. I would like to do that.
Because having been a house musician for the label or the the production team, it seemed like a natural thing for you to go on and do.
Yeah. I think doing those kind of gigs are great, because you play the same thing every week and you get to really develop what you're doing and
play with the same people as well. So so that becomes a real added benefit as well.
Completely. I think that's the thing that I love about touring with anybody, but I certainly got to experience the most being in that house band Xenomania, is that we were playing, for like 7 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week, months on end, and certainly myself and the drummer, a French guy called Simon Tellier, who's excellent. It just, we really made a great like drum bass relationship, I feel, and you just learn. Yeah, you learn that person's playing. You can predict what kind of fills they're going to do, so you can do something with them. Those kind of things that just come from growing that relationship over time. Yeah, really special.
Yeah, that kind of. I remember. I mean, when I was playing in like covers bands and stuff, you'd always get to the end of like wedding season, at the end of the summer, and you'd be like smoking. You could do all the licks that you wanted to do, but like. That kind of thing, and then come, give it a few months, a bit of a dry season. Yeah, not so good.
That's it. Yeah, that's the wonderful thing about playing. Yeah, through wedding season, like through a tour, like it is. As much as you can rehearse, there is something wonderful about doing. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks longer of shows, and that's it. Night after night, you're just getting the chance to perfect it, and. Yeah, it's a great way to play music.
So when was your going kind of back? When was can you remember the first gig that you were? I'm sure you can remember the first gig that you played, and can you impart any lessons that you learned from that?
First gig I played, I was actually wearing a very similar color to this. I had this is a jumpsuit. You can't see the whole thing, but it's like floor.
Snazzy.
A full pink outfit, so I guess not much has changed. There was a brand called Punky Fish, which I would
Oh,
go
I
to
remember
Camden.
that.
Yeah, you remember that? I would go to Camden
Yeah,
Market
yeah.
and buy that. I had a pink top, pink flares. Oh, awful, embarrassing. But and I think I actually played drums. I think I played Seven Nation Army. So yeah,
Wow.
it's very standard first gig, I feel. But gosh, what can I impart from that? I think I just remember, and maybe because I was playing drums and it was just so much fun. I just remember having so much fun and just like owning the moment and not, if you, I think that's the toughest thing to get over doing gigs is having this kind of this stage fright. I actually did some work with BIM in Birmingham last year, where I was like kind of on their like panel, like judging their students that were going to do their like final performance. And like that was always the comment I felt like I had for every student. It's just that some people just were able to go on and own it and not be over the top, but just having that swagger, having that bravado, or just that and it not being too much. It's still being humble, but yeah, just being self assured when you're playing. I think that is hard to teach. You just have to feel it within yourself and yeah, just have fun. I felt like that's what I got from that first gig, and that's why I continued to keep playing music, because there's just no other feeling.
Yeah.
So going from your first gig, can you now tell us what your worst gig was?
Nice. I like the way you did that.
I always ask people these questions. I love the worst gig questions. Gosh, I'm trying to think. Obviously, like worst gig is like different reasons. Like, oh, is it bad because of like technical reasons, or I'm just like not having fun, or
Yeah, you can take any of those and run with them.
yeah. So I remember one gig I did in. I was telling somebody about this the other day in Minnesota, and I felt so ill before stage. It was like the first time I thought I might throw up on stage.
Oh no.
We'd been out on the boat during the day in Lake Minnetonka, and it was lovely, but I get a bit seasick sometimes. So I think it was a combination of that. I was trying not to eat any meat that tour, but the only food in the venue was these like really processed like burgers. So I like ate one of those before
yummy.
the gig. And I felt just so ill. And to top it off, the BBC were there filming a documentary for Charli. So there's like me on national telly being like handed a sick bag, and everybody being like, are you going to be okay? And I'm like, well, we'll see. But luckily I was fine. Adrenaline is a very powerful drug, so I got through. So that was a bit of a hairy show. But I feel like always the hairy shows, like you end up coming away and like it's like overcoming something, right? Like I think another one I can think of is a gig I was doing with Tom Bailey of the Thompson Twins last year, the year before, and we're running playback, extra backing tracks, backing vocals, and extra keys and things like that on. And something went wrong. I think there was something with the electric in the venue. Our playback rig just went down, and all that happened was just that the track stopped playing, but you could just hear this like meep, like really high pitched noise through an entire arena. And
nice.
like, what do you do? It's just it was horrible, and I know it was nobody's fault. It was just one of those things, and Tom was really like. It's tough to weather those things, but the crowd, things like that happen, and the crowd get on your side, like they kind of realize it's not your fault, and they were like so encouraging, and so yeah, it turned out to be okay. Gosh, what else? I definitely fell over. I tried to be really cool and like jump on one of the monitors, like all the big subs. At a Charli gig, and I just like there was a gap between like the stage and the sub, and I just I fell. I didn't fall completely. Can you imagine if I just fell and like bye? But no, I just fell. One leg fell through, so I kind of steadied myself, but like that gig being that gig, Charli like ran over to me. She and just like laughed in my face and was like, "Ha!" Like so it wasn't like I didn't get away with it at all. It was like made a thing. But that's fine. That's funny. I'd prefer that. I'm happy to laugh about it.
Well, you must have seen that footage of the Edge just like walking down like the whatever you call it, the gangway in the middle of their arena tour. And it looks like he's like thinking about his tax return or something, and he's just like plumps off.
Disappears.
It's so funny. And apparently he's done that multiple times.
I was going to say, I feel like it's easily done. I feel like everybody's got like a falling off the stage story. So like,
But you don't get a name like that without reason, do you?
Yeah.
I was going to say, is that why it's called The Edge? Like,
I'm living on
likes
the
to fall
what?
off the edge. Yeah. I'm trying to think of any others. Yeah. Those are the first ones that come to mind.
Well, I remember when I first started gigging, I used to play and then like hyper analyze everything I did in the show and all that kind of crap, and then I just beat myself up afterwards about, you know, I didn't do this right, I was a blah 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 blah. And I remember I was driving a bass player back from a show, and he'd just come off tour with I think it was like Take That or something. And he just looks over at me. He's like, "Man, it's just all about the mistakes, though."
Yeah,
it just is, you know. And like from then on, it was just, you know, you just kind of roll with it. Really, like, it's pointless just come off stage and be like, really right grump, sit on a step outside, like, "Oh God, I can't. I play mid late. God damn it!"
I know.
You know,
it's something. Yeah, we probably all struggled with, like completely, like, oh. Man, I messed up that one note, you know, but most of the time other people don't even notice it. I remember doing that in a studio session once. I like did this, what I thought was like a big clam, as I like that phrase, a big clam. But then we listened back and everybody was like, that sounds great. So, you know, these things happen. I've just remembered another one. We did Letterman and my in-ears weren't working. That was a bit stressful.
Oh, wow.
But got through it.
So what happened there?
I can't remember. I think I had like one ear working. Something was dodgy.
Oh, okay.
I probably didn't have it pushed in properly or something stupid or simple. But you know, those things you don't always get a chance to like check everything before. It's like, well, this is live. Off we go. And
that was completely live. It wasn't. You weren't miming. It was like you were actually
live. This is the tape. Like, actually, I mean, Letterman is pre-recorded. They tape it in the afternoon and then air it that night. So like, I guess if it was anything so awful, then we could have redone it. But again, you
have you seen that Van Halen footage where I think it must be the backing is like they played it back at 44.1 and it was recorded at 48 or something. So it's like a semitone out. So Eddie's blazing away a semitone out with the whole of the rest of the band. Just he does the whole song a semitone out, and I'm not quite sure how he managed that. I hope that's real because I believe it. And I feel like an idiot if it is.
Even like pitch, like singers, like maybe you just like hear a certain like you know, overtone, and then you think, oh well, there's the key, and like, oh God, that's the most uncomfortable thing. I feel for singers. Yeah. How about you guys? Have you got any terrible gig falling off stage stories?
I used to write because obviously, I'm a relatively short person, and I was in a band with lots of very tall people. So to make up for it, I had, in fact, Steve's, the person who makes all Steve's cabinets, built me a very nice pedal board which has got levels on it and stuff. And I used to stand on top of it, but I was like, when there was solos and things. So I'd be there like giving it all this like fell right on my ass. Like literally slipped on. It's like, but like onto the pedal board. I mean, this thing is built. It's built like a brick toilet house. So it hurts a lot.
Yeah.
But then I went out after the gig and bought some grip tape from like a skateboard shop and never fell off again.
There you go. It's just falling over. It's just
yeah.
What do you do? You hope people are going to laugh with you, but it's just so embarrassing.
It's just yeah. The thing is also with that gig, we always wore all white, so there was also there was not brown.
It looked like you'd had a fall. Yeah, that's not ideal.
Yeah, that was fun. Although our bass player sorry, can I just say this? Our bass player beat that by a country mile. We did a gig on, those river cruises that go up and down the Thames. Mm-hmm. So we did one. It was for, Cobalt Music Group?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So it was their like Christmas party or some party, and we were playing, and there's a bit we played. I Got a Feeling, Black Eyed Peas thing. And there's a bit where we all kind of just like got to jump up in the crowd and everything. We're all wireless and stuff. And there was a really pretty girl on the dance floor, and he was just like little suave. And then he decided to go out of the boat and try and run around the back of the boat to come in back. So he came in where the stage was, opened the door to the outside of the boat, didn't realise there was a lip. He fell over. But his bass literally shot out into the river. So he just caught it. So all that came through the PA was like, and then he sort of like ran round and I came back up, and we just saw literally this. I'll see if I can do it on the video, right? So this is what we saw. So but like grime, a little bit of blood. That was hideous. But yeah, exactly. But the worst thing of it all was there was a bloke standing with the girl on the dance floor, and John, I'm shaming you now, the bass player, as he fell over, the bloke go, prick.
It's like, don't bother, mate. Oh, that's funny. I feel like, that stuff probably always happens when you're trying to impress somebody, right? And it's just all the more funny when it goes wrong.
There's a life lesson here.
Yeah.
There's nothing funny than people falling over. I stand by that. If you're having a bad day, like, I think that's why you've been trained to have such a lengthy airtime. Like, it's just great.
Yeah. No, you've got to laugh. You've got to laugh at those kind of things because they're going to happen. And if you worry about them too much, you'll just end up just being very boring and stand there.
It's when nobody else laughs though. Like if you fall over somewhere, I remember I fell over like crossing the street once. I don't know how this happened. I was carrying my bass, and it was I made a big old crash in the middle of the street. It was in Chiswick, I think, and but yeah, I mean, I think people were concerned. Maybe people were like, "Are you all right?" But I was kind of like, ha 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 ha, like somebody please like laugh with me. Like, I'm trying to laugh this off, and like none of you are laughing. It's embarrassing.
People backing away from you, like, okay.
Yeah. I've got a good one actually.
Okay, go on.
I've got a good one, but I'm a little bit afraid to. Oh no, I can't tell it. No, I can't tell it because the punchline.
You can't take it.
I bet you we've got worse.
The punchline reveals the person, and I don't want to.
Just call them something else.
I can't though, because their name is the punchline.
Oh, now you can't.
Can you do rhyming slang?
It doesn't work. I'm just, I'm just going to tell it, and I hope that he never sees this. And if you're watching, I'm really sorry, but it was funny.
Please be Craig David.
Oh my god! I'm sure he's done it. Do you remember that documentary they had on ITV years ago? And he's just chatting up girls left, right, and centre. Oh my god!
Yeah.
So just sort of leading out of when guys are trying to impress girls. I was at a jam night, and this guy I think was trying to chat me up, and I'm standing up, and he's leaning on a kind of leaning on the table that's behind. But we start to smell burning, and there's candles on each of the tables, and he set his jumper on fire. But bless him, I can't believe I'm telling this story. Oh my god! But he, tries to really play it off cool, everybody, opposite. What's that smell? And he pats himself down, and it's fine. I can't believe I'm telling us. But anyway, he decides at whatever point he's done with chatting me up, and he hands me his card. But his name, I'm not going to say his first name. His second name is Fry. He fried himself chatting me up, and then his name is Mr. Fry.
Excellent.
And I was just fantastic. This is just brilliant. I did feel for him. That was embarrassing, but yeah. maybe that's his thing. Yeah, maybe that's what he does when he's trying to chat people up. Sometimes maybe it's a whole character.
Yeah, his name's not actually Fry. It's just so you remember, and you just keep that card. I've got Mr. Fry's card. He actually fried himself.
He fried himself, chatting me up.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's a whole character I don't even know about.
Yeah, Beyonce has that character when she's like on stage and stuff. You know, it's like that.
Yeah.
When he's chatting people up. You know, because let's face it, chatting people up is a nerve-wracking thing.
It is. And you know, if you're a musician, I suppose that's why a lot of people. I'll never forget when I was in a lecture once at uni. This drummer, I don't know how we got onto it or why he said it, but this drummer was just like, I was told that being a musician gets you girls, but it hasn't worked for me. And that's it. Like, I think if you're a musician, you hope that playing guitar on stage is going to get you half the way there. But
yeah, when I first started, literally my first gig. I mean, you know, I went to my secondary school for most of my secondary school life was at a place which had just gone co-ed. It was a girls' school, so there was when I went, there was 11 boys and 400 and something girls. So which, you know, was you know, about pretty good odds.
Yeah, you had a nice time.
Yeah, it was all right. But so we did the first ever kind of sort of popular music gig was at that school, and it was, I mean, now they've got like a whole, not to say that I started it, although I'd love to think it, but now they have a whole sort of wing you know, dedicated to all that kind of stuff. But we were the first ones that we played, what was it, we played some No Doubt tunes, played Breakfast at Tiffany's, you know, that classic 90s one, which I actually sang. But we like literally packed down the gear and walked it all back from the theatre in the school to our dorms. It was a boarding school, and we had like girls like literally crawling out their windows, like screaming at us and stuff. And there's us like looking at each other, going, "This is what you have to do to get girls." It's amazing. It's amazing. And then
it's amazing.
Yeah, it's you know, relatively easy. I mean, Breakfast at Tiffany's, that's 3 chords. 3 chords,
and you got yourself
3 chords. Admittedly,
the pick of the ladies.
Exactly. Admittedly, you have to swap 2 rounds in the chorus, but it's fine.
If you can remember that, you're gonna be all right.
Yeah, which I forgot quite a few times. But then I got spat out into the real world, and you go, you know, I went to Guitar Institute as it was then, and then tried to make it as a musician properly, and you realise it ain't like that. You know, it's a lot harder. Well, not just to impress women, but you know, being
that as well, though.
Man, I'm terrible at it. I mean, Lord knows how I ended up with a wife.
You did something right. You did Breakfast at Tiffany's right one time.
Yeah, once she had that one.
No, but it is amazing, and I mean, you think about the sort of the fandom of girls, and like, you know, I certainly got to see that firsthand. One of my best friends played with One Direction for years, and it's just, you know, yeah, you see the mad fans, and it's just wild. I'd never seen anything like it. You know, you go to a show and your eardrums are just ruptured from girls screaming. Yeah,
you can't really hear the music, right? I mean, it's literally it's like Beatlemania.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah, exactly. It felt like experiencing that Beatlemania, and it's just it's amazing. Like, and I always think that's really interesting with artists now, because I feel like I always think about, you know, people like Mick Jagger or David Bowie, and it's like, you know, you put them on such a pedestal because of who they are, but also that maybe you didn't know much about them. But like now we have Instagram, and like we see so much of like what somebody does. Like,
yeah, but I think that also means that, you know, you have to be more true to, you can't hide behind stuff, which is a good thing. Because you have got contact with people. I mean, literally, you could pretty much contact most people in the world, just direct message them on some platform, and they, you know, they're likely to see it. And I mean, I've bored people silly with this kind of stuff, but it's almost like the world has shrunk again, although on a massive scale. So it's like being back in the village in the medieval times, where you had a few people that you dealt with, and you could talk to them direct. The people you got on with, you could talk to them directly and all that kind of thing. But now it doesn't matter where they are. You know, you can just get in contact with them, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Yeah, that's it. And I think that's it. That's certainly what has changed for artists now, is that they have to be so much more involved with their fans, and they treat their fans probably like better than somebody like Mick Jagger might have done. I don't know, but
treat them mean, keep them keen. Though that's the problem, isn't it?
I think this is it. I do sort of think like, yeah, that's it. Like now, maybe artists have to treat their fans nicely and be like good humans, which is great. I am all for that. But at the same time, like having the bravado that Mick Jagger or David Bowie, or I mean, no, David Bowie doesn't count. He was a wonderful human. But you know, like you almost do have to be. Can I swear? A bit of a twat, don't you? So you know, you have to be a bit. You got to have that swagger. So it's like I think it's maybe hard to find like rock stars in the same way now, because you like can't really. I don't know. I say that, but there's people out there doing it. But do you know what I mean?
And that's the thing about social media, though, isn't it? Because it's not an unedited version of yourself. You can edit yourself. You can do your off the cuff to camera 20 times until you get it exactly right.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm really struggling bringing children up with, you know, because however many times you say to your 13-year-old, look, you understand that this is not their normal life. This is not their real life. This is this is what they want you to see.
Yeah.
So don't believe that just because you get the stuff that they're pushing, you're going to have a fantastic life.
Yeah. Oh God.
And the kind of, I suppose it's changed over the years, hasn't it? Young kids want to be a footballer or a rock star or whatever. Now they want to be a YouTuber or an Instagrammer or some kind of influencer. Mm-hmm. And to a degree, it hasn't changed too much, because what they present to the outside world is only ever going to be what they want you to see.
Yeah.
So yes, it feels like there's an extra level of intimacy, and to some degree there might be, you know, depending on the character. But with a lot of people, I think maybe there's the illusion of intimacy, but it's a bit of a hoodwink.
Yeah, there's still always an element of control. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Yeah, you know, you get to see artists. I think my mum was telling me about something Sam Smith posted recently where he's like crying into the camera, and it's like, well, that's nice that he's shared that, but he didn't have to share that, and he chose to share it. So yeah, it's still orchestrated. So yeah, gosh, bringing up kids with Instagram, I don't envy you. I don't know what it's going to be when I have kids, but it's just so tough. Yeah.
My kids are pretty smart, but it's designed, it's engineered to draw you in, and just so this is quite a nice metaphor, actually. So Amelia will probably hate me for this, but she's probably not going to listen or watch. So she had a massive strop the other day, and as she went out the living room, she blatted her phone on the floor. She's thrown her phone before and never broken it. Stormed upstairs, and the thing was absolutely shattered. So she thought, well, that's the end of my phone for a week. I thought that's the end of her phone for a week, until I decide that I'm going to buy a new screen and put a new screen on. But she's now on there, like getting glass splinters in her fingers, because she's so addicted to it that she can't do without whatever she does on it.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
And I said to her yesterday, that is addiction right there. That is a metaphor for addiction, right? Or not a metaphor, but I can't think of the word that I'm trying to think of. Yeah. That is, yes, it is addiction. That's encapsulated right there. You're hurting yourself because you want that thing so much. You know it's hurting, and while you're doing it's hurting, but you can't stop doing it.
Yeah.
Hurrah!
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I think we're all pretty addicted in many ways, right? Like,
absolutely,
it's.
But that's why, it's like when you see a band, for example, that you think you hold up in this godly status, when you see them mess up like royally on stage, it's how they react to that.
Yeah,
that makes kind of sort of humanizes them, and then that's the magic that actually engages me personally. Engages me more. It's you know, because then you realize it's just like, you're just like some guy up there. Yeah, you made a mistake, just like I did the other day when I, you know, I did whatever. But it's, you know, that is the thing. You've got, it's warts and all, I think, with all the social media thing. You've got to do that, because otherwise it's not true. Really?
Well, yeah, and hopefully that's the thing with, you know, maybe doing a live stream versus like just putting up videos of you playing, is that it is still that live experience, and it is warts and mistakes, hopefully. Yeah.
Sorry, Vicky, going back to you and your thing rather than everybody else's.
No, I love it. We're chatting away.
Yeah, no. What made you make the move from lovely, leafy West London to LA?
Well, I actually moved to New York first, and then
I should have done my research
to LA.
better.
No, that's fine. So it was kind of a stepping stone. I think, you know, I always say that I might have found it strange to come straight to LA because it's just so different, and I love it now. But I think New York, I just loved, and it's, you know, it's similar to London in the way that it's, you feel like you can kind of feel at home there.
Yeah.
But America is a culture shock, isn't it? It just is. If you spend any amount of time there, you think, well, how different can it be? You know, we speak the same language. And then, no doubt, as you'll say, when you got to New York.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's state by state. I certainly think New York is a great place to start. I think that feels the most like London or you know, most familiar. But so yeah, it was a culture shock, and I think about all the things that I've learnt and soaked in over the last few years. So certainly New York was a great stepping stone. I just always wanted to live there. I just thought, and I still think it's just such a magical place. So after I was touring with Charli so much, you know, I had a visa to tour with her out there, and it just opened to my eyes, and the fact that I could get a visa and live out there on my own back, you know, get my own visa. So and I was just working with lots of people that lived in New York, and we're just like, like, you should check it out, you should do it. So I was actually meant to be on a tour with Charli that got cancelled really last minute, and I was meant to be going to New York at the end of the tour anyway. So when the tour got cancelled, I was like gutted about the tour, but also gutted that I wouldn't be going to New York at the end of it. So I was just like, I have nothing to do. We've been working like every day for a year solid. I'm going to take like a 6-week holiday in New York.
Nice.
Which was mad, but I just thought there's no other time to do this. And I just, you know, I loved it, and it was great. And I met a boy, so that helps, you know. But yes, then I moved there and loved it. But it's a funny music scene in New York, and it's not very pop. Like, I love it, and there's lots of jazz and lots of really, really cool stuff going on. But I found like it just wasn't the step in the direction that I wanted to be taking. So after a while, fully realizing that, I moved over here to LA. So it's been just over a year. So,
you found it quite easy to sort of settle into sort of music life, or have you had to sort of take, as parents would say, normal jobs?
I always do like bits and pieces of other jobs, but I mean, actually, like not that many since I moved here. It's been like work-wise, that was it. I think I was so pleased I made that decision. It was you know, confirmed to me that I'd made the right decision, because work was coming in, and even, you know, like friends that I know have lived here for years were just like, it took me like 3 years to get to the kind of the level that you've been getting at from being here for like 3 months, you know, which is great to hear. And like, so I'm like, okay, great, I guess I'm doing something right. So but you know, in terms of like lifestyle though, like everybody drives here, so like coming from New York and London where you like, you know, just cart all your gear on the tube or whatever, like coming here it's all like driving, and it's not a city in the same sense, so it like it's taken me a while to settle in that sense, but you know, luckily music wise, like I've known I already had lots of friends and contacts out here, so it made it pretty simple. Yeah, I feel like in the first like month I was here, I ended up sitting in on Katy Perry rehearsals, and Steve Perry of what's it with Journey, right? Was there watching, and I'm like chatting to
all
him.
the Perrys.
All the Perrys, and yeah, and then I had this moment where I was like, are they related? But they're not. But you know, yeah, you just like end up in rooms like that and think, yeah, no, this is the right place to be.
Sounds like it.
So yeah, so it's great. That's it. I love LA. I think you know, for pop music especially, it really is the place, and so many great studios and venues, and yeah, I love it. Wish we weren't in a pandemic right now.
Yeah, I mean, okay, and but then sort of pandemic permitting, obviously. I mean, is there anything in the pipeline? You know, what do you want to do? You know, what would you like to see going forward?
Yeah, I mean, going forward, I mean, this is like, yeah, obviously nobody knows what's going on, and I think it's been a time, certainly for people like myself who spend most of their time playing for other people and being reliant on other people's projects. You know, it's been a time to look at what I do for myself and lean into that. You know, I started putting my own music out last year, so I've been doing more of that. I've been writing a whole batch of other songs that I'd love to release. I've been working on my own podcast and blog and writing and like journalism writing, and yeah, so like that's what I can focus on for myself right now. So that's what I'm keeping busy with, and also like teaching. I'm doing a lot more teaching, and I volunteered at a really cool LA girls'
I
camp.
saw that on your Instagram.
Yeah.
And what was it called?
It's a really cool. It's called
the Rock and Roll Camp for Girls. Was that it?
Yeah, yeah. And they do that camp in a few places around the country. And I got involved with it last year because I had some friends that volunteered and were just like, you've got to do it. It's so much fun. And yeah, and we did it all over Zoom. And it was just the most fun I had on Zoom or quarantine, you know. And it's very like American, like the whole camp experience. Like it definitely took me some getting used to. You know, it's songs and dances, and there's team feelings that, like, you know, you can go to if you need to talk about your feelings. You know, like we don't talk about our feelings in England, so it's like it's
we don't feel anything.
We don't feel anything. We certainly don't share it. So yeah, it's been a learning curve, but it was such a wonderful space that they created, and it's also like a social justice camp, so they do workshops on, you know, all sorts of things, and, you know, especially what's going on in the world at the moment. It makes me think about, you know, educating younger musicians, and like, I think, you know, it's like the kids are our future, you know, but it's true. Like, I think it's made me think about those things a lot. Like, I definitely want to do more in education.
And that's,
so,
I
yeah.
mean, to a degree, that's kind of why we started this podcast, because people don't get to hear stories like yours necessarily, apart from the 5,000 other podcasts that have started up since following us, basically.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Because
Following us.
we were pre-pandemic, can I just say?
I know. This is the same thing with me. I've been working on doing my podcast for, like, I've been saying, it's like a really long time, and I am like finally having time to work on it now. But it feels like every Tom, Dick, and Harry has released a podcast at the moment.
Yeah,
so like...
I think, but the thing is with that, I mean, it's the same with everything. I mean, you just if you're talking about stuff that means something to you, I mean, it's going to mean something to somebody else, and you just got to find the people that, you know, like what you're talking about, which is why it's good that the more people that do it, I think.
Absolutely. No, and it's always fun conversations. But sorry, I did interrupt you. I think, Steve, you were making a point.
He deserves it.
Firstly, I deserve it, and secondly, there was probably no point. But since you asked,
you said it was good.
It was just about education and that kind of stuff. There's something that we not try to touch on, but we have. It's come up on various podcasts, just about the kind of difficult times on tour. And you know, my expression that I used in the email to you, looking up the trouser leg of the music industry.
Wow, that's a good one. That's a good one.
So like when people see that you've got music out and you've got artwork and all that kind of stuff, they think, oh, you must be rich and your life must be perfect. But can you talk about any experiences that you've had? Maybe, I suppose they've tended to be on tour, but not necessarily on tour, where you've just kind of had low points and maybe you've come to terms with things, or you've thought about things that, or had realizations about things that you'd not had before, or just kind of psychological side of touring, being a musician, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a really broad, unhelpful question. I'll lead you if you want.
Yeah, I'll chat away, and feel free to lead me in a direction. I think that's it. No, I totally find those questions interesting too. That's it. Obviously, people look at touring and being a musician and think, oh, isn't that glamorous and wonderful? And I must say, most of the time it is. Like, I love it. I love touring. I know some people tour and they don't like it. They miss home or find it difficult. I think, yeah, some of the hardest things for me, I feel like I get more like social anxiety when I'm with a big group of people. Like, I'm a people person, but at the same time, like, especially working with new people all the time, like, it takes time to build those relationships and like feel comfortable, So I think that's hard. I think if you're like actually like an introvert, like I think I'm lucky that I'm an extrovert. I think, yeah, if you find it difficult to be around people a lot, then yeah, touring is really hard, like finding your own space and, keeping your mental health in check. I mean, it's just, touring is just it's like being on holiday for 6 weeks, like, and not in the sense that I mean like it's such a great time. It's just, which it is, but more in the sense that it's like you're eating pasta every night of the week and like drinking and like, and obviously not all tours are like that. And certainly, like, as I've gotten older or done longer tours, I've recognized the need to make them sustainable in a way where it's, it's healthy and it's not going out every night. And it's difficult. Depends who you're working with. Some bosses want to go to the bar and you have to go with them. So that can be hard to balance. I think, yeah. Luckily, I find a way to keep it balanced, but that can be tough. And I think it's just the absolute unknown about things. Like I said, I think this time is teaching a lot of us session musicians to find our own projects to rely on and other things. I think, and that's the thing that if I'm talking to like university students about, it's like, don't think that you're going to do one thing. Like, you're going to be doing bass, you're going to be doing teaching, you're going to be doing, adverts for TV, like, whatever it is. So I think like learning what those things are for you so that you can be self-sufficient. Because I think that's the hard thing about touring, is that you are just relying on somebody else's life and schedule,
It's almost a suspension of reality, isn't it? I mean, even low budget tours felt like a suspension of reality to me.
Right. You're in a bubble.
Yeah, exactly. You're in a bubble, and it's a bit like, and sorry you don't have any kids, but Matt may be able to identify with this, probably can identify with this. When your wife has a baby, that like first 2 weeks after that, you're just in this bubble and stuff's going on. And there's probably a world outside, but who knows what's going on outside? It's like there's a different time scale. It's almost like spheres within spheres kind of thing. And it sort of felt like that when I was on tour, like just this alternate sphere spinning within the other sphere of real life. It's kind of bizarre. And I also found, like, coming off, because you're in such a high pressure environment on tour often, and the lower budget tours can even be higher pressure in some ways because you're just on top of each other all the time. Coming off tour is really weird. How do you find that transition difficult sometimes? And how do you approach that?
Yeah, I think that's such a good point, that you're on this bubble. And it's interesting, I'd never heard anybody explain it like, in the same sense of having a baby. Yeah, I'm sure it's the same thing. I think you have to be in that bubble, right? Because it's like your energy is so focused on doing that one thing.
Exactly.
It's hard to look outside the bubble. It's like survival mode. And yeah, obviously, like post-tour blues is a thing, and I think that's from two reasons, like coming out of that bubble and realizing like the rest of the world has been ticking along without you, and also that hopefully you've had a good tour and it's been really fun, and actually it's like, again, it's like being on holiday. You come back from holiday and you go back to doing something else, and you're like, oh, that was a shame. Like, I was with my friends, or I was in this different place. It's like, being on this 6-week holiday and then coming home. So I think, normally I've always like bounced onto something new quick enough for it not to feel like too sad. I think that's always the thing, is like keeping yourself busy, like doing something, or leaning into it if you do have time. Like, great, when I was on tour, I ate like crap and I didn't work out, so like, great, now I'm off the road, I'm gonna do yoga every day and enjoy reading a book this afternoon, or whatever, if you can do that. So I think for me it's just been always keeping myself busy, or hanging out in New York for 6 weeks. I guess that's how I coped. I think maybe that's it. Like, actually,
that's going to be all right?
If we're gonna, I mean, like, if we're gonna really unpack it, like, like my post-tour blues was like moving to a different country, perhaps. So
rather extreme, but it's a good thing to do.
And it strikes me now as like, just as you began to talk then, and you were talking about post-tour blues, I can totally identify with that in my roller coaster of emotions in the last 6 months. I feel like I have been experiencing post-tour blues because I've been in this bubble of life going along as it is. I assume that it's going to carry on. I'm on my treadmill of doing work and just taking care of all my responsibilities. And then it's just like off the edge of the cliff, and this is not what I recognize. This is not my beautiful wife, or whatever it is. Where am I? I don't know where this is uncharted territory, and it almost feels like, and it's an emotional kind of, I don't want to say roller coaster, but it's ebb and flow emotionally, and I feel like that's a really good kind of alternate take on how I've been feeling. It is basically post-tour blues, and I'm grieving for the life where I thought everything was certain and everything could be depended on, but now someone's knocking the stilts out from under that certainty. Anyway.
No, it really is. This is the ultimate tour blues, and everybody's feeling it. And I think that's it. Like my point is, like, if you've got something booked, 2 weeks after the tour, but this is it. This is nothing's booked. We don't.
Nothing in the diary.
There's nothing in the diary. We don't. And even if there is, it's probably going to get cancelled or moved. Like, this is really, you're right. It really is the ultimate post-tour blues. So you have some existential dread.
Some soul searching to do. I think. Which no doubt we've all been doing.
But I think it's good.
Absolutely necessary. 100%.
I think that's it. I think if you can't try and see the good in it and see it as an opportunity to grow in some positive way,
that's it.
You're just going to you're going to be stuck in post-tour blues and be sad. So
it's not a good place to be.
It's not a good place to be. No other option but just to.
But I think this times like this, it forces you to think. I hate the phrase, but it's that kind of outside the box thing.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to think of other things, and it's like you were saying earlier. You've got to turn on the other taps to still fill up your bath. You can still fill it up. You just need to.
That's good.
But you just got to find the other ways of doing so, and it's. Sometimes we just need to be forced. We're as a species, we're fairly resourceful, and I think it'll all come good in the end. It's gonna.
Either that or go really, really horribly wrong and we'll all die.
I know.
Right.
There are those
Look, can I just say, we're coming to the end of the podcast right now, and
Can we
can't leave it. We can't leave it on this negativity.
On a high note, yeah.
And here's Vicky Warwick. Welcome to this podcast. It's been really depressing.
Like it was really, really depressing. Really, really not looking forward to the future now. Yeah.
But the future is bright and orange and
no, it's pink.
Yeah, with sparkles on it. If it's got anything to do with me, it's going to have freaking sparkles on it. But
can I ask you a question?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
Perfect.
She plays
Absolutely,
bass.
Steve. Anything? Yes.
She plays bass. There's a song called "She Plays Bass."
Yes. You set up her guitar.
Have you got any contact with you?
Is it a thing?
Can you introduce us? Like, I want to know if she just wrote it about me from a distance, but I don't.
I think so. I mean,
I think she did. She did, definitely.
I mean, if she's got any sense, she did. But
I don't think we've ever met. But yeah, as soon as that song came out, people were sending me it, and yeah, I love it. I love that song. I catch myself singing it, and I'm like, nobody can hear me singing this because they're going to think I'm like a narcissist. But but yeah, no, I wish there was a story behind that. I'll have to invent one.
We need to find out. We got to find out.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get in contact and find out, because that'd be really cool.
Yeah,
maybe she's actually like you've got a celebrity stalker.
Maybe, wouldn't that be fun? Yeah, tell her if she needs a bass player. Like that would be like a really fun on-stage story.
There you go.
Can I ask you a question, Steve?
Please.
Well, firstly, I just want to say I really like your lamp, and then secondly,
thank you.
I wanted to ask about that upkeep of your beard because it's so fantastic. Do you?
You're very kind.
Work hard on it, or is it?
Can I tell you about the lamp first?
Please.
So the lamp used to belong to my grandmother, and I went and stayed with her for about 18 months to earn the money to go and do my sound engineering course. So she died, 13 years ago, maybe 14 years ago. And there are a lot of Crow grandchildren. So she didn't do a will for all of the bits and bobs in her house. But there were two things I really wanted that really reminded me of her. One of them was that lamp, and another one was a watercolor that she had on the wall. So I've got both of those. So yeah, every time I turn that lamp on, I think of her, which I was very, very fond of her.
Was it? Can I just ask? Was it wonky in her house?
I do it wonky just for you, Matt.
I know. It was wonky the first podcast, and I make it wonky.
It's always got to be wonky now.
It can be less wonky than that, but I want to make it a little bit wonky, for interest's sake.
Yeah, I think it's the kind of lamp where it can be wonky. Yeah,
it's jaunty. It's not actually connected. It just kind of rests.
Jaunty is a wonderful way to put it. Yeah, it's just at a jaunty angle. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
In terms of the beard, I've gone through phases of using beard products and stuff in it, but now I just I wash it with hot water. Don't ever use shampoo on it because I think it strips the oils out of it.
Okay.
Very, very occasionally, I'll use some beard oil in it. Yes, I definitely. That's my secret.
I would pay good money to see.
Matt crimps it.
Yeah. Look at my like adolescence. Like I can't even grow a beard. It's just like Errol Flynn's like long lost, never loved brother.
To be honest, normally I do trim it, but since the beginning of lockdown, I've not trimmed it at all. And I'm like, it gets caught when I'm in bed, like reading a book.
Ooh.
It gets caught under my armpit. I can actually put it under my armpit, which is a bit annoying. And when I'm reading books to my 4-year-old, he'll just kind of lay on it, and my head is pinned like that. I have to remove him to get my neck back. So it's becoming a bit unwieldy now, but at some point I'll give it a trim, but at the moment I don't care.
Yeah, you need to be careful around open flames.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
I think you should do beard diaries on your social media. I think how to groom a beard with audio
Steve Gray. I mean, it's just like
another podcast.
A whole other podcast idea for you.
There you go.
Thank you. Can I have that for free, or do you need royalties on that?
I will take 25% if that's reasonable.
Generous.
I'll have my people. Yeah, great. I'll have my people email your people.
It's just the way you've got to make money these days. It's just wheeling and dealing.
This is it. This is my new hustle. I just I give people ideas for things, and then I just take 10%.
Yeah, so wheelie away on their podcast. And spur something in.
Yeah.
But anyway, on that bombshell, the beard bombshell, we have to end this podcast, unfortunately.
Boo.
But Vicky, thank you so much. Thanks so much for coming on. It's awesome to see you again. It's been so long. And if you're ever back in Blighty again, which, you know, in the present circumstances is highly unlikely, I think.
It's tricky, but I hope to be as soon as possible. Yeah.
But when you do grace West London again, please do pop over and see us. It'd be awesome to catch up. And actually, I'm building a Mustang bass as well for myself.
Are you?
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, you play a Mustang bass?
Yeah.
I play some Mustangs. I play a short scale jazz. Yeah.
She's got. Okay. I think I brought it in. Vicky's one into your workshop, Steve. Because you've got like your one. You've got like I think it was Pelham blue, and then it's like really. It's like faded and stuff, and it's gone like this
aged
weird
purple.
Yeah, but it's the most amazing color. I think it's on my Instagram somewhere because from many moons ago before you absconded to America. But anyway, come back and bring that one because that's really nice.
I will. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Vicky. Well, take care.
Well,
always.
My work is
you've gone robotic,
disappeared.
Steve.
I'm back. Goodbye.